What's up, you guys? Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this metallic wooden American flag. Let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to do is get my stripes cut. So I just got some 8-foot 1x2s here, and I'm going to cut 6 of them at 37 inches and 7 of them at 22¼ inches. Alright, now that I got these stripes cut, the next thing that I'm going to do is cut the union. So I'm going to be cutting it out of this 1x12 here. The length of it is going to be 14¾ inches. And for the width of it, what I'm going to do is, as you can see, I got my top 7 stripes clamped right here. And I'm just going to take this measurement right here. So as you can see, I got about 10¼ and I'm just gonna rip the width of that at 10¼ And the reason I'm doing that is because these are supposed to be 1.5 inches wide, but sometimes from the store they come a little bit smaller than that. So that way, if I just measure it and cut it at that, it won't be too big. So like I said, that'll be 14¾ long by whatever the union cut. The next thing that I'm going to do is cut my backer strips. So I just got a 8-foot piece of 1x3 here, and I just got these clamps holding each side so that the boards are all tight together. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure each side, and whatever that measurement is, that is what I will cut my 2 side backers at. And then the middle ones, I'll just cut those at like I'll just do 18 for those. So I'll do 2 at 18, and then 1 at this length and 1 at that length. And then that way, because I'm gonna put them flush with the ends, so that way they'll line up really nice all the way up. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those cut real quick. All right, I got these backers cut, and I also cut 2 pieces at 5 inches, and I will use those for the hangers on the back. And now that I got everything cut, the next thing that I'm gonna do is take my sander. I got some 220 grit sandpaper on there, and I'm just gonna go through and do a quick sand over all the faces, just to give them a nice smooth finish. All right, so the next thing that I'm gonna do is get my boards painted and stained. So for this one, I'm gonna be painting the union and all the red stripes. I'm gonna be doing it this metallic silver. And then for the white stripes, I'm gonna be doing those black, and I'm gonna be staining those. You could either paint them or stain them, it's up to you. But first, I'm just gonna get a coat of paint on my silver pieces. They'll probably need at least 2 coats, just so that you don't have to put it on there too heavy. Try go nice and light so that it doesn't thicken up too much and create runs. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a coat of paint on those real quick, and then we will start on the staining ones. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on my black ones. So I'm gonna go ahead and torch these ones since I will be staining them. I just got a propane torch here, and you can torch them however you'd like to, but I like to try to do a little bit of a darker burn around the edge, and I think that gives it kind of a cool look. With the black, you can't really see much of it, but I think it still does help to show the grain. So I'll go ahead and show you real quick how I torch them, and you just wanna make sure you don't pause anywhere. All right, so I think I'll just do something like that, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and get the rest of these torched. All right, so now that we got these torched, I'm gonna go ahead and stain them. So I just got this Varthane water-based wood stain, and this is tinted in Midnight. This stuff is from Home Depot. If you go to Lowe's, they have Minwax water-based wood stain, and there should be a black that you could add to that to tint it. You just bring it up to the counter and they'll tint it for you. And I'll just be using a rag to stain. If you'd like to use a brush or something else, that's totally fine. And I'll probably put like 2 to 3 coats on these depending on how dark they're coming. It's totally up to you whether you'd like them darker or lighter. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these stained, and I'm also gonna stain the ends, and then I'm gonna stain right inside the edges as well, just in case the boards don't line up perfectly, then you don't see any white wood showing through. All stained, I went ahead and did 3 coats of the black on there, just to give you an idea of how dark it might show through. And I've given these some good time to dry so they're not sticky at all or anything. And next I'm just going to do the stars. So for this, I'm just going to be spray painting the stars, just because I want them to be black, and I think spray painting will be the easiest way to do it. I can go ahead and link this stencil in the description, and all I'm gonna do is just get it taped on there and just line it up. I think my wood might be a little bit smaller than the stencil, but I'll just kind of center it on there as best I can. And then for spray painting, I just got some semi-gloss black spray paint, and I'm just gonna try to do really light coats on there, and then I'll have to do several of them, but I'm hoping if I do them really light then they won't bleed through and the stars will come out clean still. So I'm gonna do my best to just dust it on there really lightly and then aim straight at it and not try to go at angles, because I know that will push it under the sides. But I'm gonna go ahead and get these painted on there. And did 3 coats on there, so let's go ahead and see how they turned out. Alright, so it looks like for the most part they turned out pretty darn good. Looks like we got a couple in here that are a little bit fuzzy, but I think for the most part that turned out pretty clean. So now we can go ahead and get the whole thing put together. I'm going to go ahead and give this some time to dry before we start that. Alright, so now that I've given that some time to dry, now we're just going to go ahead and flip the whole thing over onto its face. Alright, so now that we got it flipped over, you just want to go ahead and make sure that your stars are all facing up and that your union is on the right side, since when you flip it over it'll be on the left side. And then what I'm going to do is on the top and the bottom, and from either side I'm going to make a mark at 13.5 inches, and then that will be the marks for my 2 backer pieces that are going to go on the inside. And then my 2 side ones, what I'm going to do is just line those up right on the edge here, and then just make them go flush with the front pieces. And the way that I'm going to do this is I'm just going to go ahead and lay a bead of glue on the back here, then I'll lay a bead of glue on this piece, and then I'll just flip it over and then push down on it, and then I will clamp it. And then using my 18 gauge brad nailer and 1¼ inch nails, I'll do 3 nails per stripe, and then I'll just stagger them about the same distance up in here. And then this one right here should line up pretty much halfway on this seam. And if you just do this right side first and get these all lined up and tight together, then when you do this one you can clamp it down on the top, and then you can also just push in on this end and make sure that they're all tight up against it. And then for these nails you just want to nail some into the right side and then some into the left side, and then just move your clamp from here to here, get this one, and then on this end as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all glued and nailed on. Now I'm just gonna take my 5-inch pieces and I'm just gonna butt them up against the sides, and then I'm just gonna make them flush with the top, and then I'll just glue and nail those in each corner. All right, so we got those put on there, and now we are looking pretty good. The last thing that I want to do before we seal it is on these edges, you could either use a razor blade or frog tape. I think I'm just going to use frog tape, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put little strips on there. And then I'm going to go ahead and just continue these back. So I'll just cover up the black, and then I'll spray the gray, and then I'll cover up the gray and stain the black. And then that way it'll look like it just continues straight through, and it looks a little bit thicker. If you don't want to do this, if you just like how it looks, just the face, then you can just hold these off of the edges like an inch. But this is just the way that I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those painted. So now that we got those painted and stained, I'm gonna quickly flip it over and get the hangers put on the back. All right, so for the hangers, I just like to use these sawtooth hangers, and I think the easiest way is to just measure down from the top. I'll probably just center it along this block, and then I think I'm gonna center them over this seam right here on either side, just like that. And then that way, the center of these will be 32 inches apart. And then that way, if you would like to, then you could hang it from your studs and they'll be the right distance apart. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those put on. Now that we got those put on, the last thing that we are going to do is I'm just gonna go ahead and put a coat of sealer on it. I just got this Rust-Oleum Ultra Cover Clear Gloss Sealer. You don't need to use this kind, I just like the finish that this one gives. And I'm gonna go ahead and spray a nice even coat on there, and then I'll also put a coat on the back as well, just to give it some protection. All right, and that is what it looks like all finished up. I think it actually turned out pretty good. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Also, you can check me out on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching, and good luck with your project.